if you had to choose, which one of your friends' exes would you
We all know which one of Issa's exes we would want to
Hey, are you really a hot boy?
I got you. All right, I'm on my way. I like you being there.
I came here because I knew you'd be here for me.
Daniel!
Absolutely. Yes, that ass. Oh my God.
The heart one, what it is. What else is the heart one?
You a hot boy, a rock boy, a fun toy, total Glock boy.
I got a gun.
It's Issa!
Get in the booth, show me what you got.
Hell no.
No camera phones in here, you safe.
Turn my headphones up?
Yeah.
I really think Daniel is the finest man I've been with.
Yes, bitch, and stop throwing it in all our faces.
Starting to feel like Lawrence up in here. Wow, too soon. Fuck you.
All right, I just wanted to look you in the eye and ask you why you would treat me like I'm some random ass nigga.
You can fuck him.
An inch I needed to scratch.
What's your connection with Gunshot?
I don't have one of you. I mean, I always save you from some shit.
That's how you feel?
After all the shit we done been through, like for real?
I'm sleeping on the couch.
I know.
All right, Daniel. Thank you for everything.
Daniel King, the high school friend turned long distance college F buddy, turned side dude, turned roommate, turned friend, turned absolutely nothing of Issa D on Insecure, had a complex story. When I originally watched the show, it just seemed like he was in love with Issa and he was always willing to take her back no matter what she did to him. And in doing so, he was the curator of his own heartbreak and his own demise. But when I watched back, while that is still true, I started to piece together some of the reasons why he couldn't let her go and why when he eventually had to say goodbye for good, he seemed really heartbroken. I've stated before that Daniel was my favorite for Issa in the beginning, and upon rewatching, I eventually realized Lawrence was more her type and more suited for her for where she was going, not where she had been. But I also don't think Issa was good for Daniel. Daniel had a lot of skeletons that he needed to work through, and it showed up in his relationships with other people, especially Issa, Vanessa, and Khalil. We have a lot to get into, so let's get started. Hey y'all, thank you so much for clicking on my video, and if you're returning, welcome back to Chats and Chill. Today we are going to be talking about one of my favorite characters on Insecure and my favorite guy depicted on the show, Daniel King. Before we do that, if you haven't already, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. So I'm finally ready to talk about Daniel. I have safely tucked my Jezebel spirit away for this video, although I did allow the Jezebel spirit to create the intro, if you couldn't tell. But that's as much input as she's gonna have today. Today, we have to have a real conversation about Daniel. Again, while Daniel is my favorite guy, he is not free of having flaws. As a matter of fact, some of the things that I noticed about Daniel on my rewatch is that he often led with his insecurities, and that is why his relationship with Issa wouldn't work out, but it's also what broke down his budding professional relationship with Khalil and the non-existent relationship he had with Vanessa. So we have to get into Daniel's backstory before we talk about him in present day on the show. So Daniel is actually Issa's oldest friend depicted on the show. Molly, Kelly, and Tiffany, she met in college. Lawrence, she met after college, but Daniel, she met in high school. So they have way more history together than any of the other people she's connected to on the show. So they already have that connection. Something that Daniel later confesses to her students at Career Day is that Issa is the person who got him interested in music and served as his inspiration.
Issa got me into music big time back in high school. She kind of inspired me.
When he said that, it immediately made everything he did from that point forward make so much more sense. Because up until that point, I was like, why does he allow her to just pick him up and drop him off anytime she wants to? And he never really holds her accountable, nor does he raise his standards. And not only does he not communicate, but he only acts out in passive aggressive ways. And at times he lashes out, which is ultimately what ended their friendship for good in season 3. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So after high school, they go to college and they're far apart. So they have this long distance situationship where they're F buddies when they see each other. And when they come home, they spend time together, but they never want to make it official. Now, Issa confesses at the studio that at one point when she came home, she was hoping that Daniel would make it official. They'd spent the whole day together. They were having so much fun. And he confessed that he wanted to, but he knew he wasn't ready. She was waiting on him to ask her to make things official, and he never did. And that's what opened the door to their present day conversation when he says, I wasn't ready then, maybe I'm ready now.
You know, we were long distance and shit, but you never took me serious.
We were friends with benefits. Okay, do you remember the summer when I came home from college? You were the first person I wanted to see. And then remember we spent the whole day together? I thought you were gonna say you wanted to make things official. You know, give us a shot. But you didn't.
I should have wanted to. Maybe I wasn't ready then. What if I'm ready now?
Now, we're going to pause there. I'm just going to give a word of advice. These conversations are dangerous. If you are in a relationship with someone, it doesn't matter what you've been through with anyone else. Do not go back and rehash that shit with that person. I don't care if it's in jest. I don't care if it's for fun. I don't care what it is. Strolling down memory lane with an ex anything, whether that's romantic partner, a fling, a situationship, whatever they were, if it was anything outside of just being friends or anything outside of being platonic, don't stroll down memory lane if you have a partner in present day. It's only going to lead to mess and madness. Even if you don't act on it, there's no reason to stir up those feelings. It's like hitting a hornet's nest and being surprised when there's nothing but chaos and your ass gets stung. Stay away from those kind of conversations. Get your closure when it's over and then never revisit that shit again. I have a saying, when the past comes knocking, close the shades and sneak out the back. Get away from it. It's never gonna serve you. But anyway, Daniel didn't hear that advice from me, and clearly it ended horribly for him. After college, they go their separate ways. Soon after, Issa meets Lawrence. She tells Molly that right after college, she and Lawrence meet. They fall in love really quickly, and they just got serious out of nowhere. She never had a phase where she was able to date around as an adult with her own money, with her own place. She never really had that freedom. She went from being in college to immediately being in a relationship with Lawrence, and we saw that they lived together by the time the show began. So who knows how long that had been the case. I don't know if they kept up their situationship, but I do know they kept in contact until she met Lawrence. After their night at the club, when they had a miscommunication about possibly being in a relationship, he shows up to her job and he says it threw him for a loop because he hadn't heard from her in 5 years.
You've always been my what if guy, but I can't just jump from one relationship to another because that's crazy, right? Like I can't.
Whoa. Relationship. I'm not looking for a relationship. That was the first time that we had hung out in like 5 years. I just should have handled it differently.
You know, maybe I should have answered your calls and returned your texts.
It's all good.
Oh, and I'm back with my boyfriend. We had broken up that night, but you know, we made up.
Oh, so what you're saying is my timing is perfect, man.
So perfect.
He mentions not hearing from her for 5 years. It kind of leads me to believe that she hasn't been contacting him, but he's essentially been waiting around for her or leaving the door open. Even now, when they reconnect at the beginning of the show, he's the first person to contact her. He tells her he misses her and wishes her a happy birthday, and she responds and then shows up to his club night for the open mic night. It seems like perhaps she didn't place any value on their relationship, maybe because he was always available. He was always willing to come back to her. He kind of reminds me of Skipper from Sex and the City. Something I noticed about Daniel, he struggles to assert boundaries with women in general. This isn't just an Issa problem. We later see him in a little situationship with a woman named Vanessa. He spends the night at her house a couple of times. She spends the night at his house a couple of times. We see him trying to engage Vanessa and like making jokes with her. Clearly they are sleeping together, and she just seems annoyed with his presence. It seems like maybe he put a lot more on their budding relationship than she did. She saw him as just a physical thing, and it seems like maybe he was trying to make it something more.
The hoodie, you hooked me up.
It's $500, so no.
Ouch.
You know, it's so weird you being here though. 3 nights in a row. Don't you got other chicks to bother? Well, I'm going to Sky Bar tonight, so you might have to crowd home, girl.
Only ring your celly when I'm feeling lonely. When it's all over, please get up and leave. Question.
So now at this point, I'm now seeing two examples of Daniel putting a lot of weight on his relationships with women than they are putting on their relationship with him. She decides to go to an open mic night that Daniel is promoting on his Facebook, knowing she'll see him there. So she drags Molly along and she makes it seem as if she's doing this for Molly when really she's using Molly as a scapegoat so she can see Daniel. Something Molly immediately picks up on and is very offended by, and I don't blame her. Either way, we're going to get into that in Molly's video. But she sees Daniel, they hit it off as always, and then later that night in the car, after Molly warned her not to go see Daniel and not to sleep with him, she goes over there anyway. And when she starts to kiss Daniel, she realizes what Molly said was true, and she didn't need to fall back into that relationship with Daniel because she was still working on her relationship with Lawrence. So she pushes Daniel away and basically explains, I don't know if I'm really out of my relationship yet, and I thought that I could be this new person with you, but I don't know if I want a relationship right now. I don't know if I can jump into something. He's immediately like, whoa, I think I gave you the wrong impression. I don't want a relationship either. So he gets out of the car and she ghosts him for a number of days. I think it was maybe a week. He's been contacting her so that they could have a conversation to discuss what happened in the car. And this is the first time that we see her ghost Daniel on the show. After he got out of her car, he was reaching out to her incessantly and she would not respond. We see her do this 2 more times on the show and he's always happy to take her back. So Daniel has had enough of being ignored. He shows up to her job. I have 2 other insecure videos where I've talked about why this is not okay, but I'm going to say it one more time. Do not go to people's job with no bullshit and drama. So she pulls him aside. They talk. He tells him, well, I went back to my boyfriend. We're going to try to work it out. And he's like, oh, well, I guess my timing is great. He comes to career day. He kills it. And then afterwards, they spend a little time chit-chatting and they're having fun. Now, at this moment, Molly is actually showing up as Daniel is leaving. And so Molly confronts Issa and is like, why is Daniel here? And she explains it and she gives her these reasons or this rigmarole. And she's like, well, you know, we were missing a person. We needed an artistic person and blah, blah, blah. And Molly is not letting her off the hook. This is how I know Molly is a fierce attorney, because she's like, okay, I hear your reasons, but you're not answering my question. Why is he here? And it's then that Issa says, well, Daniel knows I'm in a relationship with Lawrence. And Molly hits her with the 1-2 punch by saying, do you? I'm going to pause there. These two have an interesting friendship, but they've also been friends since college, and they're friends through these very pivotal moments in their lives, especially in their adulthood. They're going through all these transitions and these moments of massive development and changes, and they're doing that together. So there is bound to be friction, but there's bound to be a lot of love and commitment between the two of them. Something I appreciate between the two of them, although they struggle to navigate it, they never let each other off the hook. They always hold one another accountable. Now, it looks different at different times depending on their needs, but they are always sure to be there for each other and be honest with each other, even when it's uncomfortable. This is one of those moments that I really appreciate Molly's character, because she doesn't let Issa off the hook. Since the show began, anytime Issa brings up Daniel, Molly is quick to remind Issa, you have Lawrence. We're going to get into Molly's story more, but Molly is suffering from singledom. There are some people who are single, and then there are some people who are suffering from singledom. Molly really wants a relationship in season 1, and she makes no bones about it. Whenever Issa brings up leaving Lawrence, Molly is like, do you not hear how sad I am about being single? Do not come back to these streets. Try to make it work with your man so that you're not single like me. It's not necessarily about Issa and Lawrence having something special. It's just about, don't be single because I'm lonely. It basically colors Molly's advice in a very different light, because it's not necessarily about what's best for Issa. It's more so playing on Molly's fears because she's afraid of ending up single long term. She's really lonely. So aside from that, we do see Molly continuing to hold Issa accountable, and Issa is kind of dodging accountability. I said this before in my video about Lawrence. Issa does not communicate well. She's passive aggressive, and at times she's just outright passive. Anyway, we consistently see Molly advocate for Lawrence. She doesn't want Issa to leave Lawrence, and she sees Daniel as bad news. Every time she interacts with Daniel or brings him up, she kind of has this like snarky energy, and she practically snarls at him at the fundraiser. She does not like him. Now, there are a number of reasons why this could be. One, she's Team Lawrence, and she thinks that Issa and Lawrence should make it work, especially when Lawrence started to get his stuff together. I can see why Molly had that opinion. But 2, When you've known someone for a long time and you know that there is a person in their life who they always fall for or get tangled up with and it never goes anywhere, and sometimes it can even be a hindrance, you get really protective. And when that person comes back around, you want to protect your friend. And I've been there too. I've had a friend who had a guy, especially in high school, who he would just pick her up and drop her and treat her like trash. And me and him would be arguing and she would always take his side. This is in high school. I would not be doing that now. But in high school, I was just like, I don't care. I'm doing what's best for you. But anyway, I would argue with him and come at him sideways and be mean to him because she would not advocate for herself. She was so passive and she would cry to me, but then go back to him. And when she finally broke free from him and she got into a good relationship, when he started coming back around, I was so annoyed. What I didn't do was kind of put pressure on her, but I did keep it real with her and say, I'm not walking back down that path with you. If you go back to him, do not talk to me about him at all. I don't want anything to do with whatever that is because he's not good for you.
I want you to go home and get you some of that good birthday. Yes, Lawrence, how you doing, man? Actually, I'm thinking about ending things with Lawrence. I'm sorry, what was that? Bitch, did you not just see me crying tears of singleness in there? No. One of us is having sex tonight. I'm starting to resent him. Like I spent my entire 20s with a dude that I'm not even going to end up with. I'm breaking up with him tonight. Bitch, no, you're not. Yeah, you're right, I'm not. Of course I'm not. I know you.
And if you fuck Daniel, you're as much of a dumb bitch as I am.
Daniel knows I'm with Lawrence.
Do you?
Daniel might know who posted it, okay? He knew hella people who were there that night.
All right, so there's no other person who was there who could help, or any other nigga you haven't carried a fuck torch for?
You act like shit is black and white.
You fucked another man when your man was fixing his shit for you. Bitch, you don't even deserve Lawrence.
Are you mad that I can actually keep a nigga?
Fuck you, Issa.
I understand Molly because I've actually been Molly. It's very frustrating. Mind you, I said that happened to me in high school. These women are 29 years old. She and Molly met in college, likely around the age 19. So this is a decade of Molly seeing the impact of Daniel on her friend. Whether that's good, whether that's bad, we do know it was unstable. And as a friend, Molly probably doesn't want her marching back down that path again, especially knowing that she has a boyfriend who she could very well make it work with. Molly's situation is between a rock and a hard place. I want what's best for you and I want to contribute to what's good in your life, but you're making really shitty decisions and it's blowing up in your face and eventually it's going to blow up in mine. Now, mind you, prior to Daniel coming back into the scene, Molly was only hearing Issa complain about Lawrence. Then Daniel shows up. So she's piecing together the situation. Oh, you're unfulfilled with Lawrence. You're leaning on Daniel. You're going to destroy your actual relationship. And as we've seen for a decade, this one isn't going to go anywhere. Why are you ruining your own life? I get Molly and I can see why she's so frustrated. So even then she's like, you can't ask anybody else for help with this YouTube video. And Issa, again, wiggling out of accountability. No, I need his help. So he tries to help her, but he ends up having to go to the studio. She joins him. They sleep together. She dips and ghosts him again. This is now the second time we see her ghost him. And it's only been, what, 4 episodes? She is so quick to just shut the door on Daniel. Now, you only have one time to ghost me. Hell, you only have one time to not respond to me. If you don't respond to my text, hell, if you don't respond to my Instagram comment, my DM, I'm just like, oh, okay, the answer is no, bye. I'm done. You do not get my magic anymore. You have to appreciate it when you have it because it is fleeting and I am fickle. But apparently Daniel doesn't feel the same. So she dips out. 3 weeks pass and he doesn't hear from her and he is consistently reaching out to her. At the fundraiser, he decides to attend. He gets invited because he was at career day. He sees her. Molly intercepts.
You invited?
Yeah.
You know, let's just make sure we keep it about the kids.
Uh-huh. Bye, Molly.
Then later, Issa approaches him and he was like, I just wanted to ask you why you're treating me like this. You ghosted me for 3 weeks. You know what happened between us meant something. Why are you treating me like this? And this woman, in a desperate attempt to get him to leave, she did not really feel this way. She was just between a rock and a hard place. Doesn't make it right, but she was in a very desperate situation and her man was literally right downstairs and her boss was in the next room. She just couldn't have this drama right now and a lot was riding on this night. She lashed out and says,
you were just an itch I needed to scratch.
Shot to Daniel's heart. You see it, like you literally see it. It's like a Cupid's arrow, but on fire. He walks off. He's angry. He leaves. So this is when Lawrence confronts Issa. They break up. Issa lives alone for a while because Lawrence moves out. In the middle of season 2, Issa sees Daniel at the kiss and grind party where she and all her friends are at, and Daniel is there with his friends to hear the DJ. She approaches him to apologize. He's like, yeah, it's cool, all is forgiven. Now he continues to observe her all night long as she's kind of unlucky in love, like she's not really connecting with anyone else there. And at the end of the night, all of their friends, including Daniel and his friends, are at a restaurant, and Issa's side of the restaurant gets weird. She's sitting next to Kelly, who is being fondled by Kelly's date that she met that same night. And Issa is really uncomfortable. Daniel sees this. He texts her and is like, come eat with me. So
I should have said what I said or did what I did. We did. And, I should have just handled the whole situation better. And
It was months ago, it happened. I'm good.
Daniel, we're back at it again. Who's watching all of this go down with sheer disappointment in her eyes? Molly Carter. Because if I were Molly, I would be like, how many times do I have to warn you that I don't want to have to pick up the pieces of your shattered heart when this shit goes south because you're not supposed to be together? But that's not what Molly says. She says it with her look, but she doesn't say anything. She's just like, at this point, do you? They then start back messing around. It's going good. They're keeping it light. They're having sex when they see each other, but they're not trying to make a relationship. Neither of them are cheating on anyone else. It's just physical and they're having fun. But one night, Issa decides to take it up a notch. She decides to offer oral pleasure. Things get out of hand, and as she is pulling away at the end of this interaction, she's pulling away, he actually pulls her head back and targets her eye with his finisher. She has to wear a patch on her eye for the rest of the night. She's extremely embarrassed because she felt humiliated that he did that to her. Something that I noticed when I slowed it down, he actually pulled the back of her head back to him. And he said, I thought you would be cool with it. So he thought they were open for that kind of thing. And she had a boundary that maybe she didn't communicate well, but in my opinion, she did because she pulled her head back. If she's pulling away, let her. You don't pull somebody back, but there was a miscommunication. She is humiliated. And as she's explaining this to him, like, yes, I gave you that gesture, but I didn't say you could target my eye. This is when I said, oh, he's an asshole. Because if I know someone is embarrassed by something that just happened in an intimate moment, I'm just going to apologize and say, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't know that would embarrass you. I would be soothing them. Instead, he gets defensive and he says,
I thought we were having fun. Like, you seemed like you was down for whatever.
really? I didn't ask for this.
I didn't ask for you to suck my dick.
Fuck you.
he speaks to her in such a way that you would know they had all this history. He speaks to her in a way that it almost feels like he was doubling down on the disrespect. So prior to him making that statement, I thought it was 100% an accident and he really misread the cues. But after he made that statement, and then considering she's now ghosted him twice, she went back to her boyfriend, she's essentially treated him like trash as well by saying he was just an itch she needed to scratch. We also see Daniel as passive aggressive in season 3, very passive aggressive and very petty. So this moment, with that in mind, has a whole new energy to me. At first, before I saw season 3 and how petty he was with Issa, I thought genuinely they just had an argument. He was embarrassed, she was embarrassed, he said things that he didn't mean. But after watching season 3 and then what he said in a conversation with Issa later, I'm like, no, you were trying to embarrass her because you were upset with how she'd been treating you. When you could have just communicated, or you could have just simply said, I'm not going back to someone who treats me like that. That's always an option. Passive aggressiveness annoys me because you could just keep it real. So anyway, Issa leaves. She ghosts him again. Like, she stops communicating with him. He's been calling her. She's ignoring him. Finally, she answers the phone and he apologizes. They kind of clear the air and he makes a joke, basically like, so I guess I got you back now. You did something to me and now I've done something to you. And that essentially seals the deal for Issa. She's like, okay, so that was on purpose. You were trying to humiliate me. And he's like, don't take it like that. And she hangs up in his face and tells him, don't call her anymore. F him. She is pissed. And I actually do understand her feelings because that would be really embarrassing. I actually do think he was trying to embarrass her a little bit. I don't think he was trying to humiliate her, but I do think he was trying to get a little get back, and it blew up way more than he thought it would. She doesn't talk to Daniel anymore, but when she's moving out of her apartment, she realizes she doesn't have anywhere else to go. Molly invites her to live with her, and she's like, no, because we would end up having a falling out. You should never live with your best friends. And they have tried to live together before, but after a lamp got broken, neither of them know how it got broken, but Molly continues to blame her, and Issa continues to hold her ground that it wasn't her. They decided that living together wasn't a good idea. Issa opts instead to live with Daniel, a guy that she has lost contact with because they had a falling out over a sexual encounter. Also a guy she has an on-again, off-again relationship with that has spanned over 10 years. That's just dysfunctional. I understand why Molly was frustrated because, ma'am, you are just dysfunctional and you're making dysfunctional choices. Yes, living together will be a challenge, but so is living with Daniel. At least I love you. At least I love you in a platonic way. At least I'm your family. We can get through this. Yeah, living together long-term might be a problem, but temporarily, just be on your P's and Q's and on your best behavior. You're already spending multiple nights a week at my house anyway. Just live here. But Issa was determined to live with Daniel, and I think that's because she wanted to reconnect with Daniel. Even though she had ghosted him twice, even though she had chosen Lawrence over him, even though they had had a falling out over a mishap during a sexual encounter, he still lets her live with him. He's hostile, but he still lets her live there. Now we pick up in season 3 with them living together as roommates. Issa is sleeping on the couch. He is sleeping in his bedroom. Well, actually, he's not sleeping at all. When we open up season 3, Daniel is giving the business to his girlfriend, or not even his girlfriend, his F buddy, Vanessa, with Issa literally 20 feet away on his couch. They're not being quiet about it either. They're being extremely loud. And so Issa is getting up in the middle of the night to drive for Lyft just to give them space so she doesn't have to listen to that, because it is extremely inconsiderate. Again, passive aggressive people piss me off because yes, this is your home. And yes, you can do whatever the hell you want to. But if you didn't want me there, instead of intentionally making me uncomfortable, you could have simply said no to letting me live there. And if you knew I was coming and you agreed to let me come, why not compromise a little bit so that everyone is comfortable? I don't understand saying, yes, you can stay with me, and then going out of my way to make you uncomfortable. But again, Daniel has an axe to grind. He's trying to make Issa pay, spiteful as all get out. This is a side of Daniel we didn't really see in seasons 1 and 2, and that's because he was painted as the ideal guy. So while Issa is living there, Daniel is trying to balance having this situationship with Vanessa, where he's going back and forth between Vanessa's place and his place. And his sister kind of calls him on always showing up for Issa and being real with himself and with Issa about how he truly feels about her and gaining clarity. She teases him, but she is right. Like, you're going all out for Issa, and then Issa has the opportunity to live with Tiffany, Kelly, Molly, or her parents, or her brother. Well, maybe not her brother. Her brother revoked his invitation, but she has the option to live with 4 other people, and she still chose Daniel. There has to be a reason behind that. So Daniel takes this feedback. He goes back to Issa and he's like, what are you doing here? Why are you here? And Issa's like, you're close to work. We're friends. We have an understanding, and I needed somewhere to go. And I appreciate you always being there for me. With this clarity in mind, he lets up on the passive aggressive behavior. He stops bringing Vanessa to the house. And anytime he wants to sleep with someone, he actually leaves and goes to Vanessa's rather than bringing her back to the house so that Issa can feel comfortable.
And all the places that you could have stayed, you stay with me.
Not for this.
All right, but isn't it always this? You was just low-key dropping hints about me fucking somebody else.
Oh, I don't care who you fuck. I just want a heads up so I don't have to be here.
Why are you here?
You're close to work. I thought I was staying here as a friend. And you know, we always at least had that.
Yeah.
You've been letting me stay here for free. You've been super generous with your space. And the last thing I want to do is come at you like I'm ungrateful, but I know I told you I didn't care, but I do. And I still have feelings for you.
You said that you came here because you wanted to be close to your job, but now you're telling me that you got feelings and shit. So like, what is it, all right? Because I'm confused.
Both, nigga, I don't know. I knew you'd be here for me. You know, it's not easy for me to admit things when it comes to us sometimes because you make it hard.
Oh, so I told you to move in with me, right?
Don't act all innocent like you don't know what you're doing. You're fucking other girls in front of me like we don't have history.
Well, spot's all yours tonight. See you later, roommate.
Hey, Daniel. Thank you for everything.
Now, something he's perpetuating to Issa in this moment is that he and Vanessa are in a relationship, and Vanessa is uncomfortable with Issa being there. One of Daniel's central fears is feeling worthless. So when Issa consistently drops contact with him and ghosts him, when she chooses other men over him, it plays on a deep insecurity of his that he is worthless. So he's essentially trying to get her back rather than just simply saying, you can't stay here because you make me feel like shit. Or confronting that insecurity and then saying you can't stay here because you make me feel like shit. He brings her in and then treats her like shit. Now, one night, Daniel is confiding in Issa that the guy who was supposed to make a connection between him and an artist he wants to work with, he's not going to show up. And now Daniel is SOL. He wanted to go to the club, but now there's no one to facilitate the introduction. Issa invites him to go with her. So as they get there, they see a guy they know who has been successful and they both went to high school with, named Khalil. Khalil gets them into the club. Issa pretty much plays Daniel's wingman. As Daniel is trying to talk to this artist, Issa is keeping Khalil distracted so that they can talk and exchange information. It's a really cool little plan and a plot that they have. And it also shows that while Daniel is always there for Issa, Issa is also there for Daniel. In her own way, she makes Daniel feel seen. Not only was she the initial inspiration for his relationship with music, which we now know is the most important thing to him, Issa was the avenue to that. No wonder he holds on to her so tightly. She's synonymous with music to him. I could be reaching here, but a lot of people make amazing art when they're hurt. And seeing how Daniel lets Issa pick him up and drop him all the time, I'm wondering if not only is she his inspiration, but maybe she's inspiring him to make really great heartbreak music. Now, I could be reaching, but he is an artist and we do know he is petty and emotional, so I wouldn't be surprised. At the end of this night at the club, there's a shootout. Something I noticed, he's a gentleman, so he probably would have done this anyway, but I think it does say something about how he feels about Issa. There's a shootout. He immediately covers Issa. He puts his body in the way to protect her. He loved him some Miss D, I tell you that. So later they go to Brawley Hut to eat and they're talking, and it's then that he kind of opens up.
Too old for this shit. If I'd have got shot, what would the news story even say? Unknown SoundCloud producer dead. I've been working on my shit for a long time. I talk a little and it feel like I just ain't getting nowhere.
You're not nowhere. You work for Ty Dolla $ign.
But it didn't make the album, and that's what I'm saying. It's like every time I feel like I'm about to get out the starting blocks with this shit, just like nothing. And I ain't trying to hate, but it's like I got good, Khalil got famous.
I never heard you talk about your shit like that before. I know it's hard asking for help, believe me. Okay, it wasn't exactly easy asking you to stay longer.
I like you being around. Stay as long as you need.
Biggest fear is being irrelevant and being worthless in this field that he's very passionate about. It's almost like he's worried that he's wasted his time and he's not going to be able to make a mark on the world in the way that he thought he was. The way she soothes him through this is something that I really enjoyed watching. This says a lot about why they're continuously back and forth with each other and maybe why they have a hard time just truly letting each other go, because when they're in need, the other one will always show up. So as he's sharing this with Issa, she essentially shares some of her vulnerabilities with him too. And she also gives him the advice to reach out to Khalil and try to collaborate. She puts that battery in his back. She kind of refocuses him and grounds him. It's like, you don't have to do it all by yourself. You can collaborate. You can humble yourself and work with someone else who knows what it's like to try to get on. Now, something I did understand Daniel on, he is the person who taught Khalil how to be a producer. And so having to go back and essentially ask the person you taught help you, it's humbling for Daniel. And something we know is Daniel is prideful as hell. It's hard for him to take feedback. It's hard for him to take rejection. And it's even harder for him to admit when he's wrong or admit he needs help. Those are the times where he feels the most vulnerable and he lashes out. So his behavior towards Khalil was 100% pride. Khalil was trying to work with him. Khalil was happy to facilitate the introduction, even happy to work with him to make a beat, even gave him advice on what that artist liked. Instead, Daniel, team of me, Mr. Prideful, all about myself, insecure, he plays his own beat, not the one that Khalil advised him on, but the other beat, completely ruins the interaction and misses his shot and his opportunity. When he's talking to Issa about this, Issa is like, why would you do that? That was a great opportunity. We worked so hard to get that opportunity. Why would you do that? And he's like, because it's my music and it should sound the way I want it to sound and it should be what I want. And she's like, right, but you have to do what works for the artist. You have to be versatile and you have to be willing to take feedback. Even suggests that he apologized to Khalil. And he says, I think it's funny you're giving me career advice. You aren't passionate about anything and I'm always saving you from something.
He got mad I played my version of the track for Spider, so it's whatever, it's whatever, it's whatever.
Why would you do that when he knows what Spider likes?
Because it's my music.
Maybe you should apologize.
I just think it's funny you giving me career advice. You don't really know what it's like to really care about what you do, Issa.
I do care
Your
about
life is
what
all over the place, all right? I mean, I always save you from some shit.
I have to dissect this scene a little bit. Daniel is feeling rejected. That same week, He was at Vanessa's house, and Vanessa is like, can you please go home? You've been here way too many nights. I want to go out with my friends, and you're going to have to go home. So he's feeling rejected there. And every time he tried to make a connection with her, she was just shooting him down. She was not interested in him being there any longer. Please, when it's all over, please get up and leave. So he was feeling rejected because of Vanessa. Then he had the situation with Khalil. He was feeling a little bit under fire and rejected because artists couldn't decide between his beat and Khalil's, and they decided to move on, and he missed that opportunity. So he's feeling pretty vulnerable and rejected there. And then at this dinner, he'd already asked Issa to stay with him because he loved having her around. But at this dinner, Issa says, actually, I found a place and a new job, so I'll be moving out soon. Now, prior to this, his energy was actually a lot of fun, and he was having a good time with Issa. But when she tells him she's moving out, his whole energy changed. So we have 1 week with 3 different rejections of a very prideful person. So I understand him lashing out, but I don't excuse it. There are so many other ways to express yourself, and the way he spoke to Issa and treated Issa was so wrong. So later that night, he's like, hey, I'm sorry. I was just upset about what happened with Khalil. And she was like, okay, it's fine. But the damage was done. It's also a good reminder that you start how you want to finish. They were trying to figure out if a relationship between them would work, and her moving out actually made way more sense than her living with him. If you want to have a real shot, you have to be in your own space, and you have to kind of work through a new relationship dynamic. And that takes time, and it certainly takes space and patience. Being in his space from a place of need definitely wouldn't have served her. That would have probably eventually been a hang-up. Knowing that he essentially pitied her, I wouldn't have wanted to be in a relationship with him either. That would have immediately taken whatever romance we had on the table, that would have taken it off. How dare you see me as a pity party or look down on me in any way? How offensive. Now, he claims that's not how he really felt. He was just upset. But that's a whole nother issue. So either you feel like you're always saving me and you look down on me, or you said that to hurt my feelings because you were upset about something else. They're both bad. I wouldn't want to be in a relationship with someone who's intentionally trying to hurt my feelings, and I don't want to be in a relationship with someone who looks down on me. Either way, he shot himself in the foot. So he tried to sleep with Issa, but she was like, nah, I'm not feeling this. This don't feel right. And they break up for good. She moves out, moves into her own place. And as Molly said, from that point forward, bye, Daniel. With dissecting Daniel's behavior, I'm of 2 minds. Several things can be true at once, and that's definitely where I am. 1, I can have a lot of compassion for him because clearly he has deep feelings for Issa. She makes him feel seen. He's able to be vulnerable with her. She makes him feel very safe, where he opens up. And clearly he cares deeply because he was willing to take a bullet for her. He let her stay with him even when they were having conflict. When she needed him, he's going to show up no matter what.
Issa got me into music big time back in high school. She kind of inspired me. I'm gonna find out who put that shit up and ghosted. I got you.
Got into a stupid car accident.
Shit, you okay?
My car's fucked.
But you're not hurt though, right?
Nah, I'll be all right.
All right, I'm on my way.
Okay. Thank you so much.
What happened?
I was driving and then just...
All right. It's all good.
I'm sleeping on the couch.
I know. I like you being around. Stay as long as you need.
One of the reasons why I think he put so much at stake for Issa is 1, because he cared about her. They go way back and they had a relationship at one point, whether it was a romantic relationship or an on again, off again situationship. They were friends at one point and they've been in each other's lives for a long time. So I understand him wanting to nurture that bond and always stay in her life. But also, when he revealed that she introduced him to music and now we know his relationship to music as an adult, we also see him consistently play music for Issa, and the moment she gives him her approval, he has a sigh of relief, like it's visible.
Come on, just get in the booth. Let me do the rest. Niggas ain't ready.
That's when you playing guitar? 'Cause I noticed the live instruments on your track.
That's just funny that you noticed that.
I noticed shit.
A little bit more complex. Like kind of like.
That's dope as fuck.
It's not too crazy.
No, I like it.
Bill took all the musicianship out of my track. I put the strings in there for a reason. You know how I've been listening to that Nordic music, right?
I thought it was a bop. And you know, when you get to the next level, you can do whatever you want.
I don't know.
Hey, if you ever need a bitch to play the tambourine, I'm available.
Oh, you available?
For the right project.
He finally relaxes into the moment when he knows she likes something, so he puts a lot of weight on her ear and on her input. He loves her because she's synonymous with his passion. They're intertwined. So on that end, I have so much compassion for him. And I feel like most people, not all, thankfully, some people, they just know right out the gate, don't get entangled in any nonsense like this. But for most of us, we have had experiences where we felt for someone so much that we were willing to consistently try to work it out, even when the universe, even when their actions, and sometimes even when their words told us to do anything but. We stuck around because we hoped it would get better, or we hoped we could influence change, or we hoped that we could turn a corner, and it always blew up in our face. But we consistently invested into that relationship, and eventually we had to walk away. I have so much compassion for Daniel on that end. However, Daniel is damn near 30. Someone has been picking you up and dropping you for well over 10 years at this point. When will you say, okay, we need to establish boundaries. We can be cool, but as far as getting involved with each other physically or romantically, it's not going to work because you don't respect me. At some point, you have to assert your boundaries. You have to create boundaries, and then you have to assert them. At some point, you have to have standards. At some point, you have to tell yourself, I'm worth more than being told I'm an itch that needed to be scratched. And back up. If you don't want to end up in a predicament where you're being spoken to like that or regarded in that way, a word of advice: don't mess around with people who are in relationships. When someone tells you no, believe them the first time. When someone drops contact and ghosts you, do not be there with open arms when they want to come back. But she ghosted him at least 3 times, but I'm actually going to call it 4 because he said, I haven't heard from you in 5 years. We know that she's been with Lawrence for 5 years. So when she got with Lawrence, she dropped contact with Daniel. And as we saw, when they reconnected, he was the one to initiate. He was always willing to take her back. So we know for at least 4 times she's gone ghost on him. Whether it was her fault or his fault, she was willing to drop contact with him and not talk to him again until she needed something. And he was always there with open arms. How many times does someone need to tell you, I don't care about you like that, for you to believe them? How many times does someone have to say, I'm going to treat you how you allow me to treat you, and you consistently take them back? While I don't think Issa ever had any negative or malicious intent, I do think her actions were harmful, and the only reason she was able to do that is because Daniel let her. At what point do you say, the last time I heard from you, you said you had a boyfriend, so no, I'm not going to invite you to the studio? When do you say, the last time I talked to you, you said I was an itch you needed to scratch? No, I'm not going to be your friend anymore. How many times does someone need to say, hey, we had a massive falling out over an intimate encounter where one of us or both of us were at fault, there's a lot of confusion, and I told you never talk to me again and F you, but I want you to let me stay with you? How many times does someone have to say that for you to say, no, you can't live with me? No, because the last time we talked, you said F me and you didn't want to hear from me again. So I'm going to take you at face value. He consistently let her come back and play in his face. And I don't think she ever had malicious intent, but I do think she took advantage of his lack of boundaries. And it's both their faults. He was there for her as a friend, and she was there for him as a friend. And the moment things got romantic, it blew up in their face. Had they just committed to a friendship, they would have been fine. Anytime either of them tried to take it beyond that point, it blew up in their faces because they weren't supposed to be together. They were simply supposed to be friends. And in my opinion, Daniel wasn't destined for anyone because he had a lot of work to do on his pride, on his insecurities that he wore on his sleeve, but also boundaries needed to be established and enforced. This man let women walk all over him. And then he held resentment for them for doing what he opened the door for them to do. Not saying it's right for Vanessa to be like, you need to leave. Like, her whole tone and energy towards him was so rude. There's a way to communicate with people, and I do feel like she was really rude to him. But also, if I've already told you you need to go, please don't hang around. Like, I've already said, hey, you're going to need to go home. I wouldn't have even given her time to say anything beyond that. I would have said, okay, cool. But honestly, I'm big on not overstaying my welcome. So she would have never had to say that. She would have had to ask me to come back because I'm dipping out as soon as this is over. But either way, clearly Daniel misreads the signs between himself and his female romantic partners. And it blows up in his face every time because he doesn't have standards, because he doesn't have boundaries. Why that is, I don't know. We didn't see enough of his character for me to understand why he allowed Issa to play in his face and why he put so much on his relationship with Vanessa. I do know he perpetuated something much deeper with Vanessa to Issa in order to teach Issa a lesson, to be passive aggressive. But it did seem like he liked Vanessa a lot more than she liked him. And when Miss Vanessa was like, yeah, I don't see you like that, you need to go home, I feel like he was embarrassed. He was uncomfortable. He looked annoyed. But honestly, why does she have to tell you that more than once? I hate to say this because I'm big on not victim blaming, but Daniel set the tone in all of his relationships, and he established the groundwork to break his own heart every single time. If I haven't heard from someone in 5 years, I'm not going to be the first to reach out with a "I miss you." You drop contact, then you need to establish it. Yes, I'm petty. So if you tell me I'm not interested because I have a boyfriend, I'm going to take your word for it. And when you need my help on a YouTube video, I'm going to come help you with the YouTube video. And then I'm going to go to the studio and you're going to go home. You're not coming in here with me. I'm certainly not going to invite you to have a drink. I'm certainly not going to try to seduce you and then be mad at you when you go back to the boyfriend I already knew existed. Daniel, sweetie, you're breaking your own heart here.
That was the first time that we had hung out in like 5 years.
You know, maybe I should have answered your calls and returned your texts.
I don't hear from you in 3 weeks, and that's the first thing out your mouth.
What do you want?
I just wanted to apologize so we can move past this. I guess we're even now.
Even?
Yeah, it's like, you know, we both did some fuck shit, you know. Now you know how I felt.
You disrespectful, petty ass nigga.
Hey.
Don't ever fucking call me again, okay?
Top of that, he won't just take the radio silence at face value. This is now the third time she's gone radio silent. You show up to her job? Sir, I'm going to need you to self-check. If someone doesn't want to talk to you, let that be the case. Had he simply taken Issa's radio silence at face value, he would have avoided so much heartbreak we saw him experience down the line. Certainly not going to be there for you when every other guy that you were interested in rejects you. I'm not going to be your rebound. I'm not going to be your fallback guy. He was literally a fallback guy. When she was trying to talk to Felix, aka Folix, and he rejected her, Daniel saw all of this. Why would you then let her come and sit at your table? If she had her rathers, she would be with Folix. But because she wasn't able to make something happen with them, you're there, as you always are, same old faithful. She comes and sits with you. And here we go again, starting back up again, opening the door to Heartbreak Hotel yet again. At some point, you stop being mad at the person and you start just saying, do I hate myself? Why do I let her do this to me? And why do I invite her to do it so goddamn frequently? My goodness. Then after that, after you guys have an intimate encounter that goes bad and she says, F you, don't talk to me again. Why did you not take yet again this fourth radio silence at face value? Why wasn't that your third time's the charm and this is a bonus? She's not gonna have to tell me again to stop talking to her. And I mean this with my whole heart. While I do understand why he felt a way about Issa because she had hurt his feelings several times and pissed him off several times, if you are not going to do something in good faith, don't do it. Yes, it was kind of him to let her live at his house for free for however long she wanted to, but being hostile, being passive aggressive, and being rude and making her uncomfortable on purpose is wrong. Wrong as the day is long. If you don't want to do something, no is a full sentence. Letting someone come into your space and then intentionally making it uncomfortable for them is wrong. I don't care how you slice it. If you didn't want to forgive them, if you didn't want them there, then say no. You essentially cornered her in a space of vulnerability and then mistreated her while she was vulnerable. It was never going to work long term because he didn't value her enough, in my opinion. I feel like he enjoyed her and he was always trying to win her over. But as far as valuing her as a person and treating her humanely, the way he treated her when she needed him most and lived in his home, and he chose to use that time to be petty and passive aggressive, said a lot about Daniel. It said a lot about him. It also showed that when he was mad and his feelings were hurt, he was no holds barred. And that is not the type of man you want to be living with. But after she tells him, hey, I'm going to be moving out and I got another job, he feels rejected. And it's then that he lashes out at her and basically says, I pity you. You always need me to save you from some shit. And that was her final straw. I'm glad one of them had a final straw. I'm glad one of them had a bottom floor, because at some point y'all are going to keep making these very nasty, egregious digs at each other and it's going to become normalized. Have you ever been around people who they've been so disrespectful to each other for so long that it's uncomfortable to be around them, where they're making like snide remarks at each other and taking jabs at each other and you're just like, y'all, I promise a divorce is fine. Like, I don't want to, like, at least don't invite me over until y'all are straight. Like, I genuinely hate that. A great example of this is the dinner party episode of The Office, how they have so much resentment built up for each other. They're trying to put on a facade during this dinner party and take jabs at each other the whole night and make everybody uncomfortable until finally they erupt in a whole argument that gets very violent. His very tiny flat screen TV gets broken. His Dundee gets broken. It's a whole thing. The cops get called. But leading up to the explosion, it's so toxic and tense because they're taking these jabs at one another and they think it's going over everyone's head, but everyone just feels the tension. I hate being around those kinds of couples and it makes me so uncomfortable. And I'm like, why don't you not invite me until you guys clear the air? But at some point, sometimes people just normalize that and that's just who they are. Or they get around people and that's when they turn on the show and they start making jokes at each other's expense. Like, I hate being around those couples. First of all, I hate being around people who get around a group and try to show out. That drives me crazy. People come around, you start making jokes at my expense. I'm gonna air your ass out and hurt your feelings for real because I don't play that game. You got one time to come at me crazy. I don't care if it was ha ha, he he, anything. You try to make a joke of me to make other people laugh, I'm gonna hurt your feelings. But being around couples who do that to each other and just being in an observation of that or just in the environment, I genuinely feel nauseous. I hate being around couples like that. That's how those dynamics get to be so commonplace, is because the first time that boundary was crossed, they didn't check the other person. They didn't say, hey, this is a boundary. Hop your ass back over it. That's why you check people the first time, because the first time they cross that boundary, they are testing you. They're testing the limits. And if you do not correct them the first time, baby, it is a free-for-all. And we've already had a boundary crossing when Issa told him he was an itch that needed to be scratched, and he did not make her really atone for that at all. And then later when he tells her, hey, I pity you, I'm always saving you from some shit, she asserted that boundary quick. That is how you do it. He wanted to get her back, but in my opinion, if you weren't over what had happened, you should have never moved forward with her until y'all were. Y'all should have got on the same page. Anyway, he got his feelings hurt again. He tried to make up with her, but by that point, she was just like, yeah, no, this ain't gonna work. When he is leaving Issa's new place, and this is the last time we see Daniel on Insecure, that walkout, oh my gosh, that was heartbreaking. It was so heartbreaking. Everything about it. They gave him a proper farewell, but everything about it broke my heart. But when Molly broke the silence with bye Daniel, I said she finally got her way. But also she had the same energy of someone who's like, I told you this shit was gonna happen. I told you it did not have to crash and burn had you guys just not gone this far with it, had you not cheated on your man, had you not kept going back to someone who's not good for you. Sometimes people are good people and they're still not good for us. And that's how I would define Daniel and Issa. Daniel and Issa separately were great people, and had they fostered a friendship, they would have probably had a really great friendship. But anytime they tried to be anything beyond that, each of them just got in their toxicity bag. They weren't supposed to be together. They were good people, but they were not good for each other. All in all, I like Daniel a lot, but I do think his relationship with Issa would have never evolved beyond being friends or even F-buddies, because in my opinion, he never would have seen her in the season she was in when she had it all together. They never would have been compatible because he'd built this superiority complex around always helping her, playing the hero, feeling like a big shot, and being that he was deeply insecure. And one of his deepest insecurities was feeling worthless. He built up this ego to hide that insecurity, and seeing Issa not needing him and fully self-sufficient would not have sufficed for him, because helping her made him feel better about himself. Helping her contributed to his superiority complex. Helping her made him feel worthy. In my opinion, he was addicted to taking her back and then helping her and being there for her, because it's one of the spots in his life where he could really show up and feel good about himself. Because we saw that music wasn't moving, his relationships with other people wasn't really moving. He had this big issue with not moving forward in his career, and he even confided in Issa that he was sometimes feeling really worthless, and he felt like he'd been working at this too long. Is it time to pivot? She helped build him back up. I truly feel like if he stayed in that place where he was still feeling worthless, where he was showing up for Issa and consistently having this cycle of dysfunction with her, but always showing up for her, I feel like seeing her self-sufficient, doing well like she was with the block, it never would have worked for him. I don't know if he would have ever been able to openly and wholeheartedly love Issa in a self-sufficient place, because helping her and showing up for her and rescuing her is what he built a lot of his confidence and his ego on. Not having that in their relationship, would he have been able to adjust to a more equal dynamic? I don't know. Seems like saying goodbye to him in the way that Molly did was the best thing for Issa. It got her out of those old patterns. Right after we see Issa move into her new place and say goodbye to Daniel for good, we actually see her go through a bit of a cleanse where she purged a lot of the old things she was holding on to. Not just Daniel, but everything. Her old rap notebooks, her old body wash, her old candles, her old CDs. Like, she let that part of her go so that she could fully walk into her new phase as a self-sufficient woman in a whole new era. Daniel was part of that, unfortunately. And I think it's a great mark for the show to depict that not only did she let him go, because he would have never been able to adjust to her in her fully self-sufficient, positive, and thriving season, but not only did she let him go, but she purged everything that had been holding her back. Quit her job. She truly walked into her new phase, eyes wide open, back straight, ready for whatever, because she knew she was capable. Daniel wouldn't have been able to understand her in that phase because he's never known her in that phase. And being that he had a very fragile ego, I don't even think he would have been able to deal with her in that phase. Being that we've seen him be petty, passive-aggressive, and resentful, in my mind, he probably would have just been a hindrance to her in that phase. I'd like to think that Daniel went on with his life. He was able to learn from this experience. He was able to learn to start building healthy relationships with women and other people. He was able to confront the insecurities he had and feel worthy and contribute that to his career so that he could get somewhere and he wouldn't still feel so stuck. Hopefully, he found some new inspiration, being that Issa was gone. But I'm sure the heartbreak from losing Issa for the final time, maybe that served him well. He's a creative, so I'm pretty sure he put that to use. Either way, while I have all the compassion in the world for Daniel, consistently jumped head first out the window and then wondered why he got his face cracked. You keep restarting this same cycle of dysfunction, doing the exact same things the same way that you did last time with the same people, and then wondering why it's not having better outcomes. Because nothing is changing, nothing is shifting. You haven't changed your approach, you haven't changed your boundaries, you haven't changed your standards, you're not communicating to facilitate change, you're doing nothing to contribute to a better outcome, yet you're mad when you consistently start a cycle of dysfunction and it ends in chaos and more dysfunction. I do love how season 3 explored Daniel from an angle outside of Issa's perspective. We were able to see him with his family, we were able to see him with other people, we were even able to see him in a work environment, and we were able to truly see Daniel showing up in his life outside of Issa. And those insecurities that were present with him and Issa were present everywhere. It's because it was internal and he had a lot of work to do. That's the scoop on Daniel. Now that I have finally finished this video, I will bring my Jezebel spirit back out. I can fawn over him as much as I want now. Now that I'm done keeping it real, now I can just fawn over him. He will remain my fantasy guy. My mirror bitch will always love Daniel. Now me, myself, I'm married, but my mirror bitch is a Jezebel. So she will always fawn over him, and she's safe to do that because he can't bring that cycle of dysfunction over here. So he can remain unattainable and my fantasy lover guy. Anyway, what are y'all's thoughts on Daniel? Did you like his storyline? Do you think he had a happy ending? And did you like how he and Issa ended it? What did you think about their relationship in general? Let me know in the comment section below. So that's all I have for y'all today. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and I will see y'all next time. Bye.